My name is Mario Roisman. I'm the rabbi of Bet Torah Ben Yeruah campus, and I'm excited to be moderating a virtual conversation with Gabriel Lichtmann, director, writer, producer, the movie The Red Star, which is premiering at this year's festival. Thank you all for joining us. So Gabriel, thank you for an amazing movie. I'm sure that everybody will agree with me that you kept us thinking, feeling, and in mystery for the entire movie. So my first question to you will be, why this movie?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, let me thank you for choosing the film, and let me thank you for having me here to talk with you, because I love talking about the film. I would have loved to be there, but well, it's not possible because, you know, I'm in Argentina, here in the USA, but for me, it's always a pleasure to talk with the audience. Why this movie? Well, it's a good question, and it's one that I love to answer, because this movie actually was almost, you know, like the word, I'm not sure about the word in English, but I have to say it was like a mistake, you know, something that happened to me. It wasn't something that I was planning. I had just premiered my second film, How to Win Enemies, and the people from the Laboratory of Jewish Arts in Argentina contacted me to study with them about the concept of beauty in the Jewish tradition, and the course in which I studied finished. The finishing project of the course was to present an idea for an art project in my field, which is film, of course. So I started thinking about a film about beauty, and I thought, you know, well, beauty is not only physical beauty; it's also courage, it's also wisdom, it's also intelligence, it's also studying. And so I started thinking about a beautiful woman who had all these virtues, you know, beauty, courage, intelligence, and talking with a friend, we came up with the idea of a spy. And so we started working on this character, Laila Salama, this spy, which I have to make clear didn't exist. It is an invention that we came up with my writing partner, and we started writing about her. And we became very much in love with the character. So I started thinking, how can I tell this story without having, you know, a big budget film? Because I'm an indie filmmaker, at least these days. You know, I'm not. I don't have access to big budget films, and so we came up with the idea of doing, you know, a documentary, or as some people call it in the USA, a mockumentary about this spy, about Laila Salama, and trying to tell the story through what people said or say about her, and the different, out of words, testimonios that people give about her. So this movie comes from the idea of, if you ask me why this movie, is because this movie is a way to prove that beauty is not only physical beauty, it's also all of these things, and that also it comes from the idea that you can tell a big story, you know, one of the stories that are part of the history with a big H, you know, the big history, without having to have access to big budgets, and you can tell this kind of story like in a little film, a small film, with a very limited budget, but made with lots of love.
And you did it, and believe me, when you first, thank you for the answer, because the idea that beauty is more than physical beauty is something that needs to be heard more and more, especially to our younger people who are sometimes confused. But you just mentioned something that you want to make sure that this is not a real story. You know, it took me a while when I watched the movie twice Number one, I believe it's the story. What happens to me as an Argentinian is that I know one of the actors, which is very well known, Leirado. So I say, no, forget it. If Leirado is not the son, so there's something there. But all my American friends, some of them, do you understand that most of your audience believe that the story is a real story? You understand that?
Yes, I do, and I'm glad about that because, well, I have to tell the audience that Mario and I were talking before this interview, and he asked me about this. If I wanted the audience to believe that this is a real story. Well, actually, I made a very conscious decision to give clues to the audience that this is not a true story. But now that people are seeing it, I find that they believe it is. And I think it is, and I have to say it with a lot of pride and not a lot of humility, but I think that is because the fiction is very well built, very well constructed. And so even though there are many clues and marks that point towards this idea that this is all a fiction, people tend to believe it because the film is well constructed and well made. And I think that is because a very good fiction is almost the truth.
Can you expand on that idea?
Well, it's quite a philosophical idea, you know, because I don't agree with the idea that fiction is a lie that you are trying to make believe to the audience. I think when you are making a fiction, you establish kind of a contract with the audience that you're going to tell them something that they know it's not true, but they are going to believe and they are willing to believe. The make-believe, the will to believe, the will to be enchanted in a way by a fiction. And I think film is always by some kind of magic enchantment that happens when we watch a film, we always believe that what we are seeing is happening in the moment that we are watching it, and that what we are seeing is something that has to be true, even though we know it's fiction. So when we see something that is constructed as a documentary, we tend to believe that it is not only true as a fiction, but it's also true as an historical fact.
I understand.
I think maybe this has to do with our willingness to believe in fiction and the need we have to believe in things. You know, these days there are a lot of talks about fake news, post-truth, and things like that. Well, it's actually right now in this age, it's very hard to discern what is truth and what is not. And that is what makes my point more clear and maybe even more strong.
It's like you are also acting as an educator. You come and say, look what I did for an hour and something, I make you believe something so perfectly, and it's not true.
Exactly.
Now, there is a powerful image, as somebody like me, like grew up in Argentina, went to Jewish day school all my life and was involved. I saw Purim 1934, a contest in Buenos Aires, but you told me before we started that it's not exactly Buenos Aires. Can you tell me more about this? Is one of the most powerful images in the entire movie.
Well, that's Tel Aviv in 1934. Hitler had just rose to power. I don't know if that's the correct term, in 33, and the war hadn't even started. And if I'm not mistaken, there wasn't even a Kristallnacht. So it's a very strong image. For me, it was also very strong. It's one of the images that was like, you know, like the first spark for the film, because when we started writing the film, my writing partner came up with these images. He sent me these images, and he told me, look, we have to write something in the film that revolves around these images. And so yes, this is Purim 1934 in Tel Aviv, and it's very It's very strong. It's a very strong image, because we see a gathering of Jewish people making fun of the Nazis, something that it's impossible to think about these days. Oh, well, maybe, yes, right now, like 80 years after the tragedy of the Shoah, but at the time it was like impossible to
Yes,
believe.
yes. As something that I was viewing the movie, I never imagined a Jew with a costume in Purim with the Nazi symbols and I learned something else that it happened. It happened in Tel Aviv, 1930, and you were so specific of choosing that image because it gives so much strength to the movie. People that love movies love to ask the producer about anecdotes during the filming. Something you want to share?
Oof, I have many anecdotes, but I don't want to bore you, and at the same time, I don't know if my English is that good, so I can explain myself. But
You had a good time doing it, yes?
excuse me.
You had a great time producing
We
it,
had a
yes?
great time. We had a great time. It was one of the most joyous experiences I had shooting a film. I made three long feature films, and this was the one I enjoyed the most. It was really a great experience. I also shot a lot of commercials and stuff and TV series, but I never had an experience like this because it was a creative experience, an artistic experience the whole time. Well, there is one small anecdote that I will try to make a bit short, but it was very strange thing that happened to me. I was looking for locations for the film. I was looking for specifically the house where the Laila's son, Emiliano Canale, lives. I was looking for that. It was a very difficult location because since we didn't have much money, we had to look for a place that had all of the musical instruments Emiliano played inside the house because we didn't have money to rent the place and the instruments. So we looked specifically for a musician's house. So I started writing to my musicians friends, well, we need this, a house that has a piano, has a guitar, that has a recording studio, has a violin, everything inside. So we started looking and we made a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a Twitter post. So people started contacting us. And one evening I was at our production company, just, making calls and making plans for the film. And a woman called me because she said she had a house like the one we needed with a piano, and we started talking about the place. And when I don't know, she became confident with me, and she started telling me about her life, and we started talking. And in a moment, she tells me, "Well, I have to tell you something." Excuse me. She started asking me about the film. Since we became confident, she started, and I told her, well, it's about this girl, Laila Salama, who was a spy and was involved in Eichmann's capturing in Argentina in the 60s. And then she became silent. And she said, I have to tell you something incredible. Listen to this. My parents were Nazis, and my family was friends with Eichmann's family. So I grew up with Eichmann's family. I know her sons, and I knew him, and I was present the day they, not the day they kidnapped him, because the kidnap was far away from his house. But she knew Eichmann when she was young, and she told me my parents were Nazis, and my sister and I grew up in a Nazi environment, but we could.
Remove ourselves
from that. Not only that, she told me, my sister is married to a Jewish man, and she has a Jewish. She's very much into Jewish culture, and I taught. She was a teacher many years in Tarbut, which is a very big
prestigious school, yes.
Prestigious school in Argentina. But that's my upbringing, and I knew Eichmann. I have photos with him. Afterwards, she gave me photos of her family and herself with Eichmann's sons and daughters.
Amazing.
Amazing.
So people should know that we don't know each other from before. So I will ask you the question, when you converted Laila in Rommel's lover, the idea is to show, Nazis, we got you, or what was the purpose of that?
No, that was one of the most innocent jokes in a way of the films. It was actually, there is a part of the film that it's not, that didn't make the final cut, in which we said that Laila and Rommel's affair was the inspiration to Billy Wilder's film 5 Grades to Cairo. So that was like, a cinephile joke that we made with my writing partner, because I know this is a film that has a lot of importance in a way, that has a lot of Jewish culture, engraved. But it is also a film about the love of cinema, and a cinephile film. It has a lot to do with that. So that idea about Laila being Roman's lover, it had to do with 5 Grades to Cairo, which is a film I love, by Billy Wilder. So that it's more innocent than that.
I understand. So, because people love to know more about the life of the director, is part of your Jewish identity shown in the movie through values, through ideas? Yes, something
yes,
you want.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Well, I had a Jewish upbringing. I went to a Jewish, very prestigious Jewish school, not Tarbut, Martin Buber. I have that's the name of the school. I have a lot of well, my grandparents are survivors of the Shoah, and I have a lot of love and respect for them. My two grandmothers, my grandmother and my great and my aunt, great I don't know the word. They are my heroes in a way, because they escaped from the Nazis, and they escaped. They had because they died, both of them. They had really amazing stories of how they survived the Nazis and the Shoah. And I have a very strong, I don't know, identification, or I identify myself very much as a cultural Jew. I am really attached to Jewish culture, mostly through films, through literature, through music, through the traditions. I am not a religious guy, so that's my main link with the Jewish tradition. But I'm the film in a way is now I'm thinking about this now that I'm talking with you, Mario. I think the film in a way shows my truest face as a Jew, that as my heritage as a cultural Jew, how much I love Jewish culture, and how much I think that Jewish culture, in a way, it's even though we have so many doors open, in a way it's something there is very strong, as a Jewish identity, as a culture.
You know what, I thank you for the answer, because when I realized that you wrote it and you produced it and you're the director, this was you. So I was thinking, what from him is in those characters, and now it's very clear where you come from and the message you delivered to the movie. There is a powerful moment at the end that you filmed in a Jewish senior citizen home, which, as I told you before, my mom spent the last 6 months of her life. Tell me about the experience there, because through COVID must be very difficult to go those places, and you made it.
Yes, we actually made the film just before COVID struck the world, hit the world. We shot the film in 2019, and we finished the film. We finished shooting in June, and we started editing it in, I don't know, August maybe. But that's not the important part. Well, shooting in El Dorado was really a strong experience, because it is a very, senior houses are really charged with energy, and stories, and So it was like, it was really a beautiful experience. There's not much I can tell you about it, but it was moving, you know, because it's one of those places where you feel the energy, you feel the tradition, you feel everything, and you have to be very careful, you know, because, you know, film crews are noisy, dirty, and especially indie film crews. So we had to be very careful. We had to take care of people. We had to be very loving and caring with everyone. Um, it was really strong experience.
And let me tell you that for me too, because this was the place where I saw for the last time my mom. So when you brought that images, it hit in my heart again. As we are supposed to conclude this interview, ask yourself a question that you will want us to know more. Ask yourself something you will love to answer.
Oof. Oh, that's really hard.
Something you want us to know, a message you want to convey, because you told us about you told us, but unfortunately this story is not true, but fortunately it's not true, because this shows that you did a great job. Fiction, I learned that fiction taken to the highest level can be taken as truth. We should be aware of that beauty is not only physical beauty, it's courage, it's truth, it's perseverance. You did a lot of amazing values through that movie, but and was very entertaining because I couldn't stop watching it. I watched it more than one time. So something else you want us to know?
I don't know. Maybe I want with this film to tell a story about heroism. Is that the word? And a story about female heroes, like my grandmother and my great aunt grandmother. I don't know, which were really courageous and survived the Shoah, even though they had everything against them. I don't know. Maybe this is an adventure film in a way, you know, a spy film, but it's also an adventure film, and maybe it's the idea that adventures and heroes are in our daily life, and maybe we don't see them because we are looking for heroes in the newspapers or in TV channels or in history books. But you know, there were, in a way, Laila Salama represents a lot of women who were overlooked by history, but were also heroes. I know I know we wrote a film about a spy, which was very particular, you know, beautiful, intelligent, talented, courageous, but she was at the same time a mother, and she was at the same time a woman that walked the street without being noticed, and she didn't want to be noticed. So maybe the idea is that heroes are everywhere, and we have to maybe look for them somewhere else, not in the news or in the history books.
That's amazing, because at the end of the day, the name Hester, if you learn in my Till Buber, you know that Esther means hidden. So the hero was hidden, but the hero was there. So you did an amazing job. So as a rabbi, as somebody who lives in Miami, as somebody who used to walk the street of Buenos Aires till 20 years ago every day, I want to thank you for an amazing message, an amazing movie, and I hope you win. You have my vote. So
Okay.
you already won, creating this amazing adventure of teaching us that fiction done in the highest way can be a truth. So thank you for making us aware of that and giving voice to female heroine. So before we conclude, Gabriel, something else?
No, just thank you for choosing the film. Thank you for watching it. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. At least I know that you, Mario, enjoyed it. I hope the audience also enjoyed it. I am really, really proud of this film, and I want it to be as much as I don't know. I want it to be shown everywhere, and to people watch it, because it's not only for me. It's not only my work of art, my job, or my anything. It's also I'm also proud of it, and I also think it's a film worth watching, because I think it's entertaining, and I think it's beautiful, because I am really proud of the images we produced with my team, with my crew, and I'm really grateful for you. I'm really grateful for you just having chosen it and shown it in the Miami Jewish Film Festival. It's a real pleasure for me to be here, at least virtually. So
you know what? It will be great if every Jewish place can take this year the movie as a Purim activity to show people. I will do it in my synagogue for sure. So once again, thank you to all for our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, and all of your film lovers, as well as the Center for the Advantage of Jewish Education, known as SAGE, and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for participating in this milestone 25th Miami Jewish Film Festival. Shalom.